Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you'll stand for the salute of the nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In attendance this evening, Supervisor Cindy Fisher, Frank Aguizio, Eric Savavik, Tom Casiola, and Ron Fleer. In addition, Township Manager Don Januso, Planning Director, Assistant Township Manager Jack King, Chief of Police Sean Bukovinski, Engineer Dan Dizeroth, and Joe Seitz of Gateway Engineers, Township Solicitor Gretchen Moore. Absent tonight is Director of Public Works Bill Balderoff. Comments will be taken at this time for any item to be voted on by the board that appears on the agenda. General Township comments or questions will be addressed after the Board of Supervisors discussion of old business. Just a friendly reminder that this evening we're asking you to come to the microphone, not because we're being mean, but because this is again being recorded. So in order to make sure that your comments, questions, and concerns are recorded for video, that is why we're asking you to step to the microphone. Again, this is for items that appear on the agenda only.
Hello, I'm Kate McCullough at 107 Fairway Landings Drive, and the agenda item that I'm speaking is resolution number 164, 2019. Consider the minutes from Monday, August 5th, 2019. Number one, when I appeared before you, I had a letter pending from June 21st as far as a complaint with the zoning as far as landlocking the 107 Fairway Landings property. I haven't received a response to that. It was hand-delivered on June 24th. May I give this to either you, Ms. Fisher? Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Also, once I left the meeting, I viewed your rest of your meeting on your new video, and it's actually quite good. And I wanted to address before you vote on the meeting minutes. Number one, there was a lady, I couldn't see who she was, all I kept hearing was her name being referred to as Anna. She was raising issues about the Pennsylvania Sunshine Law as far as Mr. Eric Savavik, is that the correct way of Savavik being removed as chairman. Number one, I went and downloaded, it's the Office of Open Records. It goes into the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, and it goes into great detail of if there was going to be an issue as far as removing a chairman, a special meeting should have been called. Also, there should have been a 24-hour notice. You can't keep putting agenda items on without letting the public know.
Ms. McCullough, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Nothing you've addressed so far is specific to the minutes of that meeting.
It should be in your meeting minutes. That's the point that I'm getting to.
Can I ask you, do you have a change, correction, suggestion for
May I see the meeting minutes?
Any of that is available via Right to Know, or it's available on our township website.
And so you don't provide copies here. And we have to go through a Right to Know. I'm going to give each one of you what this is, and then because at the end of this, it's quite clear. You're not following the Sunshine Law, and you can dismiss it, but actually you're exposing yourself to criminal charges. Are there penalties for violating the Sunshine Act?
Ms. McCullough.
Yes.
I would ask, we're happy to hear what you have to say, but if it's not specific to an agenda item, that you hold it until the end of the meeting.
Well, I'll say this, Ms. Fisher, right now you're not legally the chairman. You attempted a coup without letting the residents know with 24-hour notice. So I can wait till the end. But let's put it this way. There is also something that can be brought against a supervisor for violating the law. It's called a quo warranto petition. and I am going to seek to have you removed.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions specific to agenda items?
Darlene Barney, State Route 980. I have a question in regard to 163, 2019. Consider authorizing the appraisal of the Orlando and Beljean Schifoni property off of Glass Hill Road at a cost not to exceed $2,850. First question, $2,850 for appraisal? That's pretty high. Is there something else is going to go with that appraisal? Is that as far as surveying or whatever?
There is, I don't have, and I apologize, I normally have my computer in front of me, but the battery's dead and I don't have my cord. It is the appraisal, and I believe a survey of the property, correct?
Not a survey, just a property value appraisal.
Property value appraisal.
It's, pardon me?
It's a property value appraisal. It's for 64, well, there's 3 different appraisals, but it's for 64 acres off of Glass Hill Road.
So are you looking for all 64 acres?
I don't think that we've, as a board, made a decision on anything. It's just trying to get
Okay,
the
have you
valuation of the
reached out to the Schifonis? Because number 2, this Orlando is not the owner of that property.
The owner,
Orlando is not the owner of the property. It's Paul and Beljean that owns that property.
then that is my fault, and that is a typo on my part.
Well, it's not a typo because the name isn't spelled wrong. It's just they're not the owners of the property. And have you reached out to Paul and Beljean
Yes,
that you are?
yes, we had a meeting with them last week.
Okay, well, I was just trying to clarify this because Orlando does not own that property. It's Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns on the agenda? Okay. I won't read the announcements to you. You can read them. We'll start with 146, 2019. Consider application for payment to and final for Contract C of the 2019 Pavement Maintenance Program to Youngblood Paving in the amount of $4,551.42 as recommended by the Township Engineer.
This is, as stated, this is for payment application number 2 and final. This is contract C. Joe, which one was this? For the seal coating contract. So the seal coating contract, it's complete. You verified it with Bill, right? Yes. And it's within the contract value, no changes, and we're ready to final it out.
Joe, prior to coming to the meeting tonight, I had a couple residents complaining about O'Hara Road, about a slippery surface. There's a little bit of rain, their cars have went sideways, they've skidded. Yeah, was it a double application with 2B and 1B? Then maybe it seems pretty rigid to ride.
Joe, I noticed Maloney Road with that new sealer on it is very slippy. I don't know what you can do about that.
It's very slippery.
Yeah, I understand. Do I have a motion for this payment?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
4, 1. 147, 2019, consider the request of Fairfield South Point LP for Cecil Township to act as the agent for the highway occupancy permit for the pipe installed on the property at 143 Cecil Henderson Road, contingent upon execution of the required maintenance agreement.
This particular item, this is the Fairfield development on this side of the road. Fairfield Landscaping, you can see the buildings on this particular photo. But there's a storm sewer that their detention basins tie into here. There's an inlet with a pipe that crosses the road and discharges onto the property of 143. This resident complained for a very long time, and Mr. Brenlove decided to extend the storm sewer down to the creek so they could continue to mow their grass. PennDOT came back and said they wanted this pipe permitted. Mr. Brenlove will maintain this pipe in perpetuity as per that maintenance agreement. The only reason that it's on your agenda tonight is that the township has to act as in all cases with PennDOT pipes. We have to be the agent for that application. So the request tonight is to get your authorization for that application. Again, contingent upon him signing the maintenance agreement, what makes him responsible for the pipe. He was really just trying to do a good thing to help this property owner who was being affected by the water that was coming through this catch basin. Like I said, PennDOT this wants it formalized.
Any questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. 148, 2019, consider authorizing the township engineer to make application to the DEP for a permit to remove sediment at the Ridgewood Drive Bridge.
Yeah, this is a complaint that Dawn's gotten from the resident down here. If you can see, there's several photos here of the Ridgewood Drive Bridge, but essentially what's happening is the bridge has a center pier. There's a large amount of sediment that's built up on here, effectively causing a problem with capacity for this bridge to pass the storms. So what we need to do is make application for a general permit from the DEP to do we'll call this stream bank restoration to clean up this amount of sediment. The reason why this is of some benefit to the township is that we're under an MS4 permit, as the board is aware. Our permit requirement requires us to remove approximately 25 tons of sediment, or 52,000 pounds per year by March 2023 of sediment. And this will get us a sediment reduction of approximately 11,500 pounds. So the authorization tonight is to have us prepare the necessary application to DEP for the general permit, and then we would assist the township to seek proposals to get this material removed after the permit is received.
Any questions by the board?
I do. So that is all sediment, that was nothing from the original construction of the bridge? Seems like an awful lot.
No, it's, I mean, with the rain, I mean, Miller's Run is a huge watershed. I mean, it's over 1,000 acres upstream of here. So anytime that it rains, there's sedimentation that builds up in the creek. And when there's a center pier in a bridge or any obstruction within the creek, it's going to tend to be leveled out here, collect, and if it isn't cleaned up over time, it tends to do this. So this is just, I believe, natural sedimentation. Of course, some of it's man-made from development, but that's, everybody has to do their part on controlling sediment on development sites now, but still, nonetheless, there is, this that occurs.
And just for clarification, Public Works will clean it up once the permit has been approved?
I don't know if they're capable of it, but if they are, that's great.
Go ahead, you can respond in the microphone.
Yeah, I've talked to Bill. We think we may be able to take care of this.
Okay. And then if not, it will come back to the board for approval of cost, correct?
Sure, for
Okay.
authorization for bidding, sure.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? All
I'll make
those-
that motion.
Yes, that's what I was. Nothing at this point for the cleanup?
The estimated cost for the engineering on this is $3,500 for the permit application. And if there's any surveying required, there will be probably about $1,500 in surveying. So
About $5,000.
Right, but the work is done on a time and material basis, so if there's less time spent, there's less time spent.
You mean $5,000 for the cleanup or $5,000 just for the permitting?
3,500 for the permitting, and if
Right.
we have to do any surveying, it'd be another $1,500 for surveying work.
Okay. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this is all required as part of our MS4.
Correct. It does it gets us partial compliance, and we can report it as a part of the program for the MS4.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Ron. 4-1. Sorry about that, Ron. 149, 2019, consider application 2019-13 for the Sanctuary Former Feldheidler Cluster Housing Subdivision with administrative conditions. Applicant Scarmazzi Homes, location O'Hare Road, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District. The board granted conditional use approval on November 5th, 2018, and the subdivision plan received Planning Commission approval on July 18th, 2019.
I believe the developer's here to give a brief presentation, talk about the plan.
Hello, I'm Brian Metzler with T3 Global Strategies, 10 Emerson Lane, Bridgeville. We're here tonight to ask for final approval of the sanctuary. This plan came back in 18 as a conditional use permit, so we are being developed as a cluster housing development, which means, our lots are clustered together and we're maintaining 50% of the site as open space area. Throughout the process, we've worked closely with Gateway and some of the neighbors on where our common open space went, how we treated or landscaped that open space, and then spent a lot of time on the stormwater management facility and how we conveyed that storm drainage from the site across 980 to the creek. So I believe we have addressed all the comments in Dan's letter. I think maybe Dan wants to speak a little bit. I think the last remaining item was the cul-de-sacs and the cul-de-sac width.
Yeah, as the board is aware, there's a conflict between the Unified Development Ordinance and the fire code. In the review from the fire code official, there's a requirement for a 48-foot cul-de-sac, 48-foot radius cul-de-sac. So I've spoken to the developer tonight, and I believe he's prepared to install the 48-foot cul-de-sac to comply with the fire code. And I would just recommend that as one of the conditions tonight if you decided to move forward with approving the plan. Just one other thing to highlight here related to the plan, just so the board is aware, for the next approval. There is a stormwater detention basin that will be constructed. Trying to get a plan that shows it better. There's a stormwater detention basin that will be constructed in this area. This will handle the entire development. If you recall, during the conditional use process, there were a number of residents that came out along 980 that have had issues before related to flooding that occurs related to this property. All this water will now be controlled, put into a pipe, and then be conveyed to the PennDOT catch basin along Route 980. The next item on your agenda, if you consider this, would be acting as the applicant for this permit for the pipe to go into the PennDOT system, as we discussed before, along with a maintenance agreement. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. And then, Brian, do you want to talk about the Konitsky property and the landscaping along there? Just so the board understands that too.
I'm going to turn it over to Paul Scarmazzi.
Paul Scarmazzi, 701 Mission Hills Drive, Cecil. We did talk with Kathleen who is, I don't know exactly the location here. She has a large contiguous parcel next to the property. It's her bird sanctuary. It's one of the reasons we named it the sanctuary. She's been at several meetings, and I met with her to go over the landscaping and the trees that we're planting along that entry area, and she was very satisfied with that. Just so we have had interaction and discussion with Kathleen.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I think we're happy to answer any questions that you have, but tonight, we're seeking final approval, with the condition that we meet the fire code on the cul-de-sac and we attain the HOP permit from PennDOT.
Any questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a question. This drain, you gonna dump all that water on that farmer on the other side of 980?
What we are doing, there's an existing culvert pipe that crosses under 980.
I understand that.
So we're connecting to that, and a requirement of this project is to essentially over-detain by 30% of the storm drainage runoff. So we calculated what runoff this site generates as the field and the meadow condition that it is today, and we're holding back the water and releasing it at 70% of that rate.
Yeah, but that poor guy already has a water problem, and you're gonna dump more water on him? Why can't you take it to the stream?
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Skirmizi, just going to the microphone. Thank you.
All due respect, as Brian said, we are over detaining actually, so we're taking condition that existed before and we're actually making it better. We did that. It was extensive in terms of what the township engineer requires to do due to the extraordinary weather that we've encountered over the years. So it is over-designed. It's as much as we can do.
Thank you. Any other questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you.
151, 2019, I skipped one, sorry. 150, 2019, consider the request of Skirmizi Homes for Cecil Township to act as agent for the highway occupancy permit for the storm sewer pipe within the PennDOT right-of-way of 980 Road for the sanctuary development upon execution of the required maintenance agreement.
As I described to you before, that's for the off-site storm sewer that we just looked at on the plan. It's similar to the one that was just requested for the other property along Cecil Hendersonville Road. The township will act as the applicant on the permit because that's what PennDOT requires, but the developer will have the maintenance responsibility of the pipe.
Any questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
5-0. 151, 2019, consider application 2019-21 for the Doodle Bugs at South Point Land Development Plan with administrative conditions. Applicant Horizon Properties Group LLC, location Town Center Boulevard, Special Development Zoning District. The plan received Planning Commission approval on August 15, 2019.
I believe I saw Mark Kuntz and somebody else from Horizon here. Nobody wants to talk.
That's right. Good evening. My name is Brandon Miles. I'm here on behalf of Horizon Properties. And we're here requesting preliminary and final land development approval.
Can you hold the microphone up a little bit for some reason?
Sure.
I can't-
Is
there
that
you
any
go.
better?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. For our proposed Doodle Bugs Child Learning Care Center facility located off of Consol Drive in South Point.
I
Mark-
still can't. Can you hear?
Sorry, is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay.
You kind of have to,
All
it's
right.
tricky. You got to
All
hold it a
right.
little closer.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
What we've brought up on the screen is a brief conceptual elevation of the proposed building front facade. It is a two-story facility, about 14,000 square feet, that will service students from 6 months of age to 12 years. As I said, it's located off of Consol Drive on approximately a two-acre site behind the Med Express facility. I do have Ed Moore here from Scheffler Engineering if you have any questions in regard to the site plan. I'll open it up to any questions. Oh, okay, sure. Sure. When we made our application for the land development approval, the fire marshal did come back and requested that we implement a cul-de-sac at the end of the parking area to permit fire truck turning radius, which we've done. We've incorporated that into the plan. So I believe we have satisfied all of his concerns with the plan. I believe we've satisfied all the other comments that we received from Gateway Engineers. I will tell you, as of today, we did receive the SPOA 2 approval for the development, so we can provide documentation for that as well.
Any?
Yeah, they've addressed all my comments. The other issues were related to the ordinance requires that they provide, just as a part of your approval tonight, the ordinance requires that once the facility is licensed, they have to provide that to the township. That's in your ordinance. They need Conservation District approval of E&S control plan, which has been applied for.
That is correct.
They'll need a developer's agreement. SPOA 2 approval, as they've just said, has been obtained, and then municipal authority has to approve the sanitary sewers. So if you considered this tonight, I would just recommend it based upon those conditions that I just read.
Any questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
So move with those 5 conditions, then,
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
152, 2019, consider application 2019-22 for the Captain Plan of Lots Number 2 subdivision, applicant Virginia Regner, estate of Teresa H. Captain, location Coleman Road, R1, low-density residential zoning district. The plan received Planning Commission approval on August 15, 2019.
Yeah, I believe the developer surveyor is here, but I'll quickly outline this for you, and then if there's any questions, we can defer to him. But sorry about that. This plan is essentially a subdivision of the remaining lot. There's already been 2 lots subdivided, lots 1 and 2. Lot 3 encompassed this whole parcel right here. They're now subdividing off another 10 acres, which they're calling Lot 3R. There's an existing structure on there that will be raised, and they note that on the plan. And the remaining existing house that was a part of the mother tract is still here on Lot 4. So what they're proposing tonight, again, is this 10 acres. And the only condition here is they've made application for the planning module, but it's not been approved yet. This will have on-site septic treatment, and they've made application for the planning module to the DEP. So any condition of approval tonight should be conditioned upon approval of the planning module by the DEP. They've approved it for the last couple lots there. I don't anticipate any issues. They have a couple sites that they've noted on the plan. So again, the surveyor's here if there's any questions.
I'm Troy Holsop with J.R. Gales and Associates, 27.
Sometimes the microphone works better. I'm so sorry. If you just hold it. It's tricky tonight. Thank you.
Just good?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm Troy Holsopple from J.R. Gales and Associates, the surveyors, 2704 Brownsville Road, Pittsburgh, PA. Just here for seeking final approval for the subdivision plan. Subject to, like you said, we're still waiting for the only remaining item is the planning modules to be returned.
Any questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
153, 2019, consider approval of the McConnell Trails Phase 1 revised plan of recording reflecting sidewalk and cluster box unit revisions. Lot lines from the previously approved plan have remained the same.
Yeah, this is, there's nobody here for this plan tonight. I spoke to Andy Hutchinson this afternoon from the development plan, and he apologized for not being able to be here. This plan is really just a re-recording of Phase 1, which the board already approved. So when Ryan Holmes has been doing these developments lately, I guess they've been learning lessons related to the new requirement for cluster mailboxes. Those mailboxes are sometimes infringing upon private properties, so they want them clearly shown on the plans. So they've shown the cluster mailboxes on the recorded plan. They've shown some parking that's extra parking that's required by our ordinance. They've also shown sanitary sewer easements. So basically, they're just, all the lot lines remain the same, exactly the same. All you're doing is reapproving the plan tonight with a plan that shows those items. I've reviewed the plan, and again, there's been no changes to the lots. They asked if we could do this administratively. I said no, it had to come back before the board, so that's why it's here tonight.
So the only change is the cluster mailbox locations?
Cluster mailboxes, parking, and also some easements that they've added to the plan.
Okay.
Just so it's clear when people buy a unit that they know exactly what they're getting and there's no legal questions down the road. They've had some problems, I understand, in other developments, so they wanted to make sure this was clarified here.
That's good. Any questions by the board?
Dan, where are the mailboxes?
You would ask that question, Eric.
At the
Good
public-
question.
Just for the, make the public aware, but that's a poor drawing. Is that just my monitor? or,
Yeah, it's, sometimes these PDFs don't come in.
Is there a
You gotta-
shadow on your cursor that maybe needs turned
Yeah, let
off
me-
or something?
I
Let me
think it's
see if
your
I can-
monitor, because it's clear on mine.
It's on sheet 2. It's, the cluster mailbox, I believe, is right in this direction right here. It's along this edge where they notify it for parking. It's just before the bridge. And I wanted to see if there was another location. That's the only one that I can think of right now. But again, they have access easements, parking, sidewalk, and cluster mailbox. I'm sorry, Eric, it's right here, right along that edge.
Okay.
So when you pull into the development, this is the main entrance to the development. You'll be able to pull along. There's enough parking there that people can pull their car, stop, get their mail, and get back out. There's several spaces along that location.
Dan, did you go back to them about the entrance, what me and Bill talked about?
About the sightlines?
The entrance, no, it's not wide enough. They planted all that grass and they're driving 4 feet up into the grass already.
That's something that Andy said he would get back to us on, but it's not a part of this plan. It wouldn't be affected by this plan. I mean, if they need to widen the road out, they have plenty of room within this area here to widen the road out.
Why wouldn't it be affected by this plan, though?
This is just a recording plan for the lot lines and the right-of-ways. It doesn't show the paving.
Okay, but we
So the-
need something to hold them accountable to it, I think, is the
Well-
point.
The drawing where it shows it flares out at the end, is that the paving plan?
No.
This is additional easement right here at this location. Yeah, I understand Ron's issue, and I'll take it up with Andy again and get back to you with an answer. It doesn't materially affect this plan. We'll be back and forth on this a number of times.
As long as they understand that's something that's
Sure,
important.
absolutely.
Dan, do you know why that is?
This piece here, this is at least 50 feet here, and then there's additional here, and then there's 25 feet, I believe, out to the center line of the road.
The asphalt's not 50 feet.
No, the asphalt's not 50 feet.
How wide is the asphalt coming out there?
Oh, I don't know that.
24 feet? 22 feet?
24, it'd be 12 on each side of the center line.
It should have at least a radius there. Dan, that's box square coming onto a road like
No,
that.
it flares a little bit.
You have to have radiuses flared out on it.
Yeah, I believe what happened on this one is that the radius actually extended out because the pavings, they dedicated additional right-of-way through there on that side of the road because the road was only 33 foot wide. They gave additional radius, so actually the paving radius goes out into to the additional area where they widened. They gave more back on this side. I can find another plan to show you, Frank. It doesn't show it on here. I know exactly what you're talking about, but this was a different circumstance because we made them dedicate additional right-of-way to get us to 25 feet on that side of McConnell Road, where we only had 16 and a half before. So they dedicated an additional 9.5 feet on there for future purposes or whatever it is. So what Ron's talking about, the actual additional paving that's required due to the turning movement that people are making in, we can fit within the right-of-way that's already shown on this plan. I'm confident of that.
Okay.
So that's why I said that materially, this plan we're going to address that as a separate issue.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. 154, 2019, consider co-signing for a new fire truck loan as requested by Cecil Township Volunteer Fire Company number 1 of Lawrence. Bill, are you here? There you are. Do you want to say anything about it, or do you want, that's why, well, let's give Mr. Cass the opportunity to.
Well, it would help if you put it on the agenda.
Bill Cass, Lawrence Fire and Rescue. We have estimates, we don't have a hard figure, but basically we're asking to put 50% down. We are putting 50% down, and we're going to need to borrow the rest of the funding. And we are going to look at different options of financing. We may not even go this route, but we wanted to have it as an option. So to answer your question, we don't have the exact figures yet.
Could you give us a range?
Yes, around 400,000. Yeah, I didn't want to get too technical and say you only said 4, but that's basically where we're at. And I can also say this is the only bill we have. We've been saving for this. We've been trying to save money every year, and every year it seems like we got to this point where we're saving, but the truck keeps going up in price, and that's why we have to borrow a little more than we wanted to be honest with you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
They're gonna come anywhere near that. Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0. 155, 2019, consider authorizing the Washington County Redevelopment Authority to proceed with the demolition of 2 residential structures located at 414 Blue Jay Drive and 3284 Millers Run Road, utilizing the township's CDBG funds and an $8,000 subsidy from the township. Any comments or questions?
Question, do we know what the total is minus the 8,000? How much do we have in that fund?
Do
Or
we have
was the
in
bid?
In the
If you
fund?
recall
or-
if you recall at our last meeting,
Yep.
the township has available to it $12,500 in CDBG funds for this year. What the board had surmised was whether or not we could push those funds forward into a future year and use those together and pull that. That's not possible with the way this grant program is structured. Therefore, it was more cost-effective to go through the county and their program utilizing the $12,500 from our funds, $8,000 of a future take, and then the $8,000 subsidy that the township would provide. That would also be placed as a lien on that property to recoup the township's outlay of $8,000.
Thank you, Don. Any other questions by the board? Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0. 156, 2019, consider approving the fireworks display at the Fall Festival at a cost of $3,000. Jack had a meeting with, sorry to call you out while you're writing, but Jack King, our assistant manager, had a meeting with Fireworks Joe, as we'll call him, and he was happy to put on a display at the Fall Festival. It'll be approximately 9 p.m. Saturday night of the Fall Festival. I believe that's the 25th. Does that sound right? 28th, thank you. Thank you. With a rain date of Sunday evening. He does a great job every year in Muse for a fireworks display, so we're looking forward to it. Thank you, Jack, for doing that, setting up that meeting. But that is his cost to go get the fireworks. Any questions or comments from the board?
I want to make a motion, but I've talked to Ed Pobrick, and he will have a fire truck there in attendance for that.
Great, thank you, Ed. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I still do have the concern that this is a fall festival. The leaves are brown. I still have a concern that fireworks and those don't always mix. And then also, are we using this as a draw to the fall festival that's over at 5 or 6 o'clock? It just seems isolated, or it could be something, and I love fireworks, I'm the first one to show up for them, but it could be something that's used for a night of the movies or movies in the park or something that way versus the fall festival, since the activities will all be over for the day. And that's just my thoughts on that fire hazard, fire safety, and maybe using that money for something else, or allow the festival to do it during that night in the movies or something that way.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Do I have a motion?
I made a motion.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. 157, 2019, consider participating in Washington County's 2020 Complete Count Census Committee Program. Don, do you want to?
Excuse me, basically, this is just a program that Washington County is starting to try to get municipalities interested in getting their residents to participate in the census. The requirements from the township are just simple. We just place advertisements on our website, maybe posters in our building, and all it is a fancy word for trying to help people or get people out to participate in the census.
Sounds good.
Simple.
Sounds easy enough. Do I have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5-0. Consider, 158, 2019, consider the submission of a 2020 Washington County Local Share Account Grant application in the amount of up to $550,000 with a 50% township match for the removal and replacement of 4 bridges in Cecil Township Park. If you recall, this was something that was approved on the agenda last month for us to be able to look into it. It's a grant application that I've been working on with Dan Dizeroth, Bill Wateroff, and myself. It's for the replacement of 4 bridges in Cecil Park. We're hoping to get 50% from the local share, and then the township will come up at some point with the other 50% match. We've reached out to our local state representative and state senator. They are writing us letters of, not endorsement, that's the wrong word, support, thank you. Letters of support, and have said that it's been a long time since Cecil has actually applied for a grant from the local share, and so that they feel fairly confident that we'll at least get something. So this has to be on the agenda tonight because we are asking for a 50% township match. Do I have any questions or comments from the board?
These are 4 bridges that were donated to the township?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did we have a cost on sandblasting or repairing them ourselves? Or did Ron look into something?
A
Or
while ago, wasn't it? Like $45,000
No.
or $50,000 a bridge?
I think the total cost was close to $350,000.
Yeah. For those of you that didn't hear, Mr. Janusa said just to sandblast and paint the current bridges that were there was approximately $350,000, and that doesn't take into consideration the structural soundness of the current bridges. So there is the possibility that we could spend all that money sandblasting and painting them and then have them fall apart anyways. So, this has been carefully considered and thought out, so. Any other questions or concerns? There's no commitment at this point. It's simply the grant application, which is due September 25th, along with the letters of support from our local elected officials. $550,000. We have started, yes, and there are some of them that are not structurally sound. Thank you.
They all need replaced.
They all need replaced.
No, but we've had our Public Works look at them extensively.
Ms. McCullough.
You can
We
see
have a different
visibly
plan for
the
these
shot.
bridges.
Ms. McCullough, thank you for your questions, comments. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 159, 2019, consider a letter of support for Cecil Township Volunteer Fire Company Number 3 of Miller's Run and their application for a loan through USDA's Community Facilities Program for a new fire department building. Is there anybody from Fire Company Number 3, TJ, that wants to address it?
Good evening, I'm DJ Johnson, Vice President and Chairman of the Building Committee for the Cecil Township Volunteer Fire Company Number 3 of Miller's Run Incorporated. We are investigating the USDA Rural Development and Emergency Responders of Pennsylvania loan. This letter of support that we are requesting is a formality for the pre-application process, and it is something that, similar to your letter of support that you are receiving or requesting, we are doing the same thing with the state representative along with the state senator and the Board of Supervisors.
Just for transparency, I'll read the letter of support that if passed is what we'll sign. It says, "Dear Mr. Lehman, the Cecil Township Number 3 Volunteer Fire Company is planning the construction of a new modern fire station. The proposed station, among other things, would allow the company to operate more efficiently and provide a safer environment for firefighters, all while continuing to provide emergency services to our community. Please accept this letter as the Board of Supervisors' support for this project and support for the fire company to seek funding assistance from USDA. Please do not hesitate to contact me should you have any questions." Do I have any questions or comments by the board? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
DJ, this will be signed this evening and ready
Thank
for you
you.
to pick up.
We have a budget of $1.5 to $2 million. This is on a piece of property that is approximately 75 feet wide by 100 feet deep. 7,500 square feet is what we're looking to. Due to restraints that we have imposed upon us by the DEP, we must build 50 feet away from the most restrictive edge of the creek bed, which really handcuffs us, God bless you, which really handcuffs us in our construction process.
Thank you. TJ, if you'll in the future address all comments to the board. Okay. 160, 2019, consider rezoning 6.7 acres of property from R3 to C1 located along Millers Run Road east of Slatemore Drive as requested by DFJH Properties LP. A rezoning hearing was held in front of the Board of Supervisors on July 19, 2018. Any comments or questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a comment. Just that I had kept this off the agenda when serving as chairman. Mr. Gizio did not have the opportunity to go and look and speak with the residents, so that was why it was off. And I understand we had some brief discussion with Gretchen as to whether we could reopen the hearing that was closed to get a better feel for what changes were made.
Once a hearing
In that neighborhood?
you can't reopen it, can you?
So there were changes. There were either 1, 2, or 3 different houses that were built. So those are factors that would be important in the decision.
No, there wasn't.
No?
No house was built.
No houses that were sold or bought?
He bought them.
He bought them. Was it 1, 2, or 3?
He bought
Or I'm not
three.
even sure I can ask that if the hearing's closed, or how could we get the answer and have that reopened?
So unfortunately, we can't reopen the hearing.
So he would have the
He would
ability
have,
to?
yes, we could, the owner or whoever DFJH Properties, he could come back and request it to be open, but we need to move forward. We can't leave things hanging out there. So we can approve this or deny it or abstain, whatever, but we
No.
need to move forward with it.
Same reason that I was holding it and not putting it on the agenda was that Supervisor Aguizio did not have the opportunity to go there. And I asked him about it before we came in, and he still has not made it there. So for that reason, I would make a motion to table this.
We tabled it for a year,
Yeah, it's, at this point,
well over a year.
Motion's on the table.
and honestly, a public hearing doesn't require any of us to go to the location.
But it was his request that he desired to, so I would honor a fellow supervisor.
Frank,
So
you want
my
this
motion is
table?
to table, please.
No, I would not table it.
No,
Can you ask for a second?
he said no. Mr. Aguizio said, we won't speak for him. He says
Can
he
you at
doesn't.
least ask for a second to my motion that's on the table, please?
Is-
I have to mention that, as I said before.
Tom, can you talk into your microphone?
As I said last year, I have to recuse myself. I had an immediate family member that was a property owner adjacent to that site. After that, after our hearing took place, I had an ex parte discussion with the applicant, Mr. Fuchs, and I felt comfortable at the time talking to him because I knew that I had to recuse myself from the vote here. And it turned out that now my relative has no property up there anymore. She had sold to Mr. Fuchs, but I still had that ex parte discussion. So as I discussed with the solicitor, I still have to recuse myself because of that discussion with Mr. Fuchs.
So you can't vote and Ronnie can't vote.
Oh, you know I can't vote.
I was advised by the council.
No, I talked to the board.
Did council state that Mr. Flair should not be voting on this matter?
First of all, I have not been asked for any legal opinions on anyone's conflicts, real or imagined.
In regards to
So-
opening the case back up?
We can't open it up.
So this particular issue, there was a hearing, an applicant came in, you held a hearing. I gave my advice on the type of hearing that it was, the fact that it's a legislative hearing, and this board has never taken action on it, which is fine. This board cannot reopen a hearing on their own. An applicant can come back in and ask any number of things. They can ask to reopen it, they could ask for a new hearing, they could come in with a fresh application. So I'm not really sure what's before me right now. Are you asking me about conflicts? Because if so, you have to provide me with information so that I can then research it and give you a legal opinion if someone's looking for a legal opinion on a conflict.
So what I understood was that there was, Frank was waiting to visit with those people, so we held off from making that decision. There was, we weren't able to,
just
we weren't able to secure a
Just
vote.
for a point of clarification, we can't seek, after holding a hearing, we can't go out and seek additional information outside of what we hear in a hearing.
But there were 12 residents that were here, and it's vital information, whether there's 1, 2, 3 houses, changed the whole complex of that neighborhood.
Eric, we have to make our decision based on the information that was provided at that hearing. We cannot go out and seek additional information that would sway us one way or the other.
I think we would be wise to find out how the dynamics changed, or if 3 of those houses were bought by Mr. Fuchs, it may not
Eric,
be an issue.
Eric, that doesn't matter. We have to make the
does.
decision, Eric, we have to make the decision
They're-
based on the hearing that, or the information that was provided at the hearing.
Okay.
If
Is that-
Mr. Fuchs wishes to come back before this board and reapply or provide us with additional information, then that is his right to do so, but it's not, we can't go out and seek additional
So
information.
is it Gretchen's opinion that a decision has to be made on this?
She didn't
Is that
say
your legal opinion, that we have to make a decision on this?
I've never told the board that.
Okay, thank you. And the question I did ask before was, okay, so Tommy cannot vote, and I understood previously that, did you give advice that Mr. Flair could not vote, Supervisor Flair?
She already said that she's given no specific
I'm
legal
asking her.
advice.
I've given no formal advice. No one's come to me with a question and asked for a formal legal opinion, which is a written document. I haven't been asked to supply that. If someone wants to ask me that, I will look at the facts and I will give a formal legal opinion.
Okay, I thought, Dawn, that statement was made by our counsel. Dawn Januso, no? Okay. I still have a motion on the floor to table.
Do I have a second to table? Motion dies for lack of a second. Do I have a motion to consider the rezoning of 6.7 acres of property from R3 to C1 located along Millers Run Road east of Slatemore Drive as requested by DFJH Properties? A rezoning hearing was held in front of the Board of Supervisors on July 19, 2018.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So is that 2 ayes?
Yeah. No?
No.
So it doesn't have a majority, so.
I abstain.
Yeah. It doesn't have a majority, so it dies for lack of a majority vote. 161, 2019, consider purchase of protective fire gear and equipment for the fire code official not to exceed $5,487. Jason, where are you? Do you want to stand up for a second? Wave, show everybody you're here. That's Jason Brown, our fire code official. While he's on duty here in the township during the day as a fire code official, if there's extenuating circumstances or if he's needed by any of our 3 fire companies, he will utilize this equipment to go out on calls. So if there's a severe structure fire or any number of things, he will have the equipment and ability to respond to calls. Thank you. Do I have any questions, comments by the board about this? Do I have a motion?
I make that motion for the fire code officer.
Official. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
No.
Oh, I keep doing that to you, sorry. It passes 4-1. Sorry, Ron. 162. 162, 2019, consider allowing the fire code official to assist in daytime firefighting activities in conjunction with 3 volunteer fire departments as outlined in the Fire Response and Emergency Policy Number 1. I'd also like to add a condition pending solicitor review because she has not, at this point, had the opportunity to review it. For anybody that wants to, we can let people see it if they want to see it. If anybody wants to see it, we have copies up here, but it basically just outlines the calls that Jason will go on in the event that he is needed by other fire companies. It's just a policy for us within the township, for Jason or anybody else that would hold that position. Any questions or comments by the board?
Lonnie, did you look into if he got injured out on a fire? When he's supposed to be working here, is our insurance going to cover him?
Yes. Any other questions or comments by the board? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes 3-2. 163, 2019, consider authorizing the appraisal of the Paul and Valjean Chaffoni property off Glass Hill Road at a cost not to exceed $2,850. Again, as you're aware, this was something that we asked if we were allowed to, if I was allowed to meet with the board's approval with the property owners of the 64-acre parcel off of Glass Hill Road for the purposes of installing a public works building. We did meet with them. It was a very quick meeting, mainly because we can't really have any discussion until we know the amount of money that we're talking about. They were very set on a specific amount of money. The township has legal responsibilities. We can only pay 10%. What is it? Can you say that?
The average. I think it's actual appraised value, or it's the estimate of, if there's more than one, it's
Several
the
appraisals.
It's the mean of.
Okay, but in any case, we have a limitation. We can't just go in and, offer whatever and pay whatever they're asking. So in order to continue those discussions, we kind of need to know if we're in the ballpark of what they're looking for, or if we're way far away and there's no point in continuing those conversations. That is the reason behind asking for this appraisal. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, if you understand that for buying property, the township can only pay up to 110% of an independent appraisal.
That's what I thought.
110 or 100,
I think it's 10% over, but.
But I'm saying Dawn gave me information that didn't seem like the property owner was willing to negotiate from a set price that he had, and it's to me, it's foolish to spend money on appraisal if we know the property owner is setting his the amount that he has.
I had a
We can't meet it.
conversation. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we can't meet it if we're limited to 110% of some independent appraiser. He has a set amount, and he said he wasn't going to negotiate. So to me, we're
Without
wasting
getting
our
into
money.
specifics, I had additional conversations after the meeting where they want to know. They are very confident that the appraisal will come in close to what it is they're asking for, and so I think that we need to at least follow through before we take any other actions.
Dawn, you got some information from our engineer on close to $500,000 to run a sewer line up to that property, just as another cost right off the top.
That's
So, I mean,
correct,
that would
yes.
be in addition to any amount we pay for that property.
That's right. To bring sewers to the property, Dan did a rough cost estimate. It was approximately 500, almost close to $500,000.
We need to build a new public works building, is what it comes down to. That would be a budgetary decision in the future, but until we follow through with all the information, we don't know what we're looking at. And we've said for years, for as long as I've been on this Board of Supervisors, that Public Works needs a new building. So to me, my opinion is that we need to investigate all avenues and have all information so that we know what we're looking into. Property, as Supervisor Castillo often points out, is rare and it's hard to find in Cecil Township for what it is we're looking for. This suits what it is we're looking for. So I would just ask that we spend the $2,850 and see if we can come to some sort of deal. Yes, their asking price was significantly higher than what we were looking to pay, but once they get their appraised value, there is the possibility that they may be willing to come down. If you wouldn't mind, Ms. McCullough, if you wouldn't mind not yelling out, I would appreciate it. And also, if we're gonna stick to please step to the microphone if you have something you would like to say.
You are spending people's money like it's a bottomless pit. How dare you say we need something without considering where the money is going to come from? I've never sat through the most entitled, spoiled representation of a chairman. You're telling people what they have to do with their own money. How much are you getting paid for this position?
Ms. McCullough, thank you. We will be moving forward.
No, I want an answer. How much are all of you paid?
Ms.
How much is
McCullough.
your solicitor paid? How much is your engineer paid? There is a line item of general fund invoices. How much do you pay these people?
Ms. McCullough, I'm going to ask you to sit down or we're going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion for authorizing this
I have more
appraisal?
discussion. I would agree with Tom, and then the resident or Darlene Barney's comment of, what is the total there, 45, 48 acres?
64.
64 acres, and we're only looking for 10 or 20? So could we, in fact, even reduce that by having them evaluate the 10 or 20 acres instead of all 60
Part of the appraisal,
acres?
looking at 10, 20, and then 60.
They're getting a price per acre.
Pardon me?
They're getting a price per acre.
Yeah, so if we could do it for 10 or 20 acres, would that be a lot less than the $2,850?
No, it's not going to change the appraisal value.
Did we look for other quotes, or is that the best we could do for a?
That's the going, that's.
Go ahead, Dan.
That's actually the going.
Can you speak into your microphone?
And a good value for an appraisal, a property appraisal, no matter how big the size is approximately $2,500 to $3,500. So it appears to be a good price. Who's the appraiser?
Valbridge,
Yeah.
Was
which
this
is
the
a known-
appraiser we used for the Clemens property?
yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
And do you know what that was, what we paid there in those situations? But my point is, instead of them evaluating all 60, if we only need 10 or 20,
It's not going to change. The valuation will tell us the price per acre, which is what we're looking for. There was, during the meeting, the suggestion of buying 10, of buying 20, or buying all 64. But whether you do an appraisal of all 64 acres, do an evaluation of 10 or 20, it's not going to change the price, and it's not going to change the price per acre.
Do we know that number, though, or what was, or Dawn, are you allowed to share that? Probably not publicly, of
He
what,
doesn't know
what
off
the
top
quote
of his
was?
head. He doesn't know.
And you don't believe it, and you don't believe that it's, Tom, within the 110%? No?
Any other questions or comments by board members? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
3-2. 164, 2019, consider the minutes from Monday, August 5th, 2019, Board of Supervisors regular monthly meeting. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. 165, 2019, consider the general fund invoices from August 1st through August 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Dizeroff, do you want to do your engineer's report?
Oh, sure. The board has a copy of my report, and I've highlighted all the items that are of note. But just to mention a few things, the Traditions of America development, that's been stalled for a little while, but we understand that they now have their sewers in place, so they are going to proceed. Liz was getting them off a development agreement to get started on that. And I think that was the only one. There is another rezoning application that's in front of the Planning Commission. It's for property that's owned by Pete Dalbo in two different locations. The Planning Commission deferred any decision on that for a month, so it potentially could be back in front of you next month for consideration of scheduling a public hearing. Other than that, I think, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Dan. Gretchen, listener's report.
Thank you. We are managing several heart and lung matters for the township, assisting the township with right-to-know requests. This past month, we've assisted the zoning officer, manager, and engineer on various legal questions, gave several legal opinions on various matters, worked with the Department of Veterans Affairs related to an easement, also worked with the sanctuary on an easement agreement, and as well as reviewing a deed of dedication for the McConnell Bridge. In court, we are on the South Point. We have two cases. We're waiting for an argument date from Judge Lucas. We did receive an argument date for the cell tower relocation matter before the Commonwealth Court. We'll be arguing that in October. The Clements matter has been pushed back. It's another 30 days at this point. Should be closed by court order honor before October 7th. There is the Augustine conditional use appeal, which is before the Court of Common Pleas. That's about it.
Thank you. Bill, there won't be a Public Works report this evening because our Director of Public Works is not here. Board of, do you want to fill in for him?
No.
You want managers? Oh, managers.
I just had one comment related to Public Works.
Sure.
I wanted the board to recognize, and although he wouldn't come to a meeting, Randy Roberts will be celebrating 40 years of service as a Public Works employee September 8th.
Wow, that's great.
So I'll see that a certificate of service is prepared for him for the board
Great.
to sign, but I thought that was commendable, and he should be recognized.
Do you have that letter to pass back? Thank you. Board of Supervisors, discussion of new business. Jack King, our assistant manager, and I have had numerous conversations over the past couple months about the current condition of our township website. We've heard you over and over, and believe me, I was trying to find something last week, and I had to call our director of zoning because I couldn't even find it on our township website. At this point, I think that we have hit the limit on what, we pay a company, and please jump in at any point if what I'm saying is not correct, but we pay a company to basically provide us with this website, and I think we've reached the point where it's serving the purpose that we need it to serve. So we spent a lot of time looking at other municipalities, other local school districts' websites to kind of get an idea of what maybe we need to incorporate. And I'd like to ask this board to allow Mr. King to continue those investigations into the possibilities and present to us in October some options of other companies and other ways that we can update our website that's significantly more user-friendly. Are you all okay with that?
Yeah, it's a given.
So you have the blessing of the board. You can move forward with that, and we look forward to hearing your presentation. Anybody else, new business? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to commend the road crew for the job they did on Galati Road and up over the Hill Schifoni Road, or Cowden Road. They did a really nice job.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you.
I don't think we have any stone roads anymore, do we, Mark? We do?
Here, go on. Go on.
You'll get them. Yeah.
Okay. At this point, I don't think we have any old business unless somebody else has something to bring up.
Please, if I may.
Yes, please.
On that same note with Jack, that Facebook page that we had, or the information page, was up and then it was taken down, and I'd like to see that proceed. There are parameters that are in place there, I believe, that if a comment, and this was Supervisor Gizio's concern, if someone made a comment at 10 o'clock in the evening, it would show up. Well, the reality is it wouldn't automatically post until they authorize that message to be put up.
You can't limit commenting. You can limit posting, but if we put up a post and comments are allowed, you can't limit a comment from, you can't require a comment to be approved. We've gone through this with the PTO. So the comment would show up. The only way to prevent that would be to not allow commenting.
Well,
But as
I think that we should, and we don't, the police do a great job, the Parks and Rec Department do a great job with their site, and I believe that the township should. I wasn't aware that this was being taken down or that supervisors were
I
against.
wasn't aware that it was being put up.
Yeah. But it's an administrative thing. I'd like to see it, and I'd like to hear the pulse of the board if they would like to see that information page for Cecil Township's Facebook back up.
I think as we said, or as I said last meeting, one step at a time. We're just working through the process of updating our website, which is desperately needed. A lot of times when you're posting information, you direct people to go to a website. We really, at this point, wouldn't have any place to direct them to go. So I personally am not saying never. Please, we're discussing. At this point, we're not saying no, never. We're saying not right now. Let us hear Mr. King's presentation, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay, hear from the other board members? Ron?
I want to wait. I think we should put our own webpage up, and all the information's on there that you need. Instead of going to Facebook, go to the township webpage.
Frank?
I agree in the future for a quick news flash, emergency, stuff like that.
Well, we already have that. We could have co-administrators with the police department who do a fine job with theirs, but if it's an emergency or a Amber Watch or something, they could all be added there, and maybe having a person working with it from the police department or from our staff. It should be an administrative thing that is no real big issue.
The problem is our administrative staff are here 8 to 4. Our police work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they have the ability to monitor and stay on top of those things where we don't. I think that, again, I'm not saying never, I'm just not saying right now. And
John, do you have a comment?
Well, I didn't know why it came down to begin with. I didn't hear of any complaints.
I didn't even know, it never was addressed with this board to be put up in the first place. I didn't know anything about it.
It should just be an administrative thing that's handled through the township. And on that note, though, with the new business, compliments to the police department for number 6 in the state. That's a great job, sir.
Great job.
All right, I have nothing further.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly say before we open it up to citizens' general comments and questions, please keep in mind that it needs to be civil and that there will be no personal attacks. If there are personal attacks, you will be asked to stop and you will be asked to step away from the microphone. If you have something you want to say, we want to hear from you, but again, please refrain from personal attacks to any board member.
I'm Kate McCullough at 107 Fairway Landings Drive. And the reason I'm here is I attended the Planning Commission meeting as far as the situation with the landlocked property on 107 Fairway Landings Drive. Number one, the question I have for the board is, I provided a letter to you today that was hand-delivered on June 24th. When can I expect a response?
I don't know, yeah, I don't. If you'll give me a second to look at the letter, I don't know which.
Well, it was sent to John Januso.
Yeah, well, his name is Don Januso.
I did say Don.
I thought you said John.
No.
I don't recall seeing this, so.
Well, it was hand-delivered, and I brought it to the building here on the 24th. Once I gave it to the receptionist, I'm not responsible where it went.
Okay. We can take a look at it and get
Okay.
a response to you, but at this point, I haven't seen it until now.
Okay, now, last meeting on August 5th, I raised the issue of a conflict of interest with your solicitor, Gretchen Moore. And Ms. Moore was very articulate in that she was not violating the code of conduct for a lawyer. I have what's a conflict of interest. And when I informed her in various emails that she had a conflict, she had an obligation to inform the board here of that conflict. Were you ever informed of that? It's called advised consent.
I do not have a conflict of interest.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, now, the next thing that I want to bring to the board's matter is I did raise with Ms. Moore what her role was at the Strasburger Law Firm. And she said to me that what was I angling for? I wanted to know if she was just a shareholder or an officer. She did not answer my question. I have it that Gretchen Moore is not just a shareholder, she's the vice president and an officer of the Strasburger Law Firm. May I give you that information?
Sure.
Please note that the last person on the page is a vice president. The secretary is David Strasburger. Also, the reason that I'm raising this is, when was Gretchen Moore hired as solicitor here? Can anybody give me a year?
16?
2016?
Okay, well, did Ms.
17,
Moore...
2017.
So it's been, what, 2 years? And would it have happened at the organization meeting in January?
This is the third year, so she
Okay.
would have been.
Okay. When you hired Ms. Moore, did she inform you that the Strasburger Law Firm is involved in a $450 million case where she, her firm, and PNC Bank are in a litigation for a $450 million trust of the Scaife children being bled to zero to keep the Tribune Review open?
I'm not sure how any of this has anything to do with the township, and if you're referring to stuff that is in the public record in the newspaper, then so be it, and all of that is in the newspaper, that particular
That's
lawsuit.
right, Ms.
So-
Moore, and here's the problem that I
Thanks for-
have. I've turned PNC Bank into the IRS because of actions. Also, Judge Strasburger, who was also with your firm, actually involved himself in a case involving me. So by you preparing any document concerning me is a conflict of interest. There's one more thing I want to provide to the board, which that is that a conflict of interest with public officials is a felony offense. Here's section 1103 and 1109, the penalties for a conflict of interest. The last point I would like to make is, when I went before your planning commission, Walter Krasnewski works for, I believe it's Stahl Schaefer Engineering, and he also worked for SAI. You had a resolution here about having the township manager having signature rights with PennDOT and Turnpike. You have a chairman of your planning commission that does work for PennDOT and Turnpike Commission. That's a conflict. You also have Lauren Anderson, Director of Technical Affairs for the Marcellus Shale Coalition. That's also a conflict. He's basically a lobbyist. And then you're having planning commission matters going before him. The last one is Jason Crudd. He's a safety director for Centimark. That's a roofing company. And all this new construction here in South Point and everywhere else, he's conflicted as well. No wonder you have an issue with all these things. You have a solicitor here that, why was it Yale, Gutnick, and the Strasburger law firm allowed to do what they did? They never recognized their conflict of interest as well with the Scaife family. And she's
Point of
made...
order, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, I mean, I understand her plight. I know it's a property issue, but I don't see how this has anything to do with our township business.
It has everything to do with the township business, sir, because you have a conflicted attorney rendering opinions for this place.
Ms.
The
McCullough.
solicitor addressed that,
Enough.
and
I've had
I
enough.
object to her, she's basically slandering
I
our
agree with
solicitor.
your objection. Ms. McCullough, if you have something that is township related, we're happy to hear it, but if there's an issue.
Well, this is where I'm going with this. Under a quo warranto petition, I can go to the Attorney General's office and the local district attorney's office about the conflicts that you have here, and that is an action that can remove all of you that are conflicted from office.
That's good.
So the reason I'm bringing this to the township residents official is you have been breaching the Sunshine Act for the state of Pennsylvania. You have executive sessions violating the law. There is criminality involved, and I'm going to give you the last one from the Office of Open Records. Then you see how you're running these meetings. You're expecting people to sit here while you're passing on resolutions without telling them a dollar amount of what it's going to cost.
Miss-
One last one, and I'm leaving.
Good.
Thank you. And you can all be removed from office,
Good.
and I'm going to lead the charge to do it.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or any other comments before the board?
Kara Sheridan, 58 North DePauli. I just wanted to bring up a concern that I have. I know that the board is aware of some issues at the Augustine Well site with 24/7 security not being posted at all times at that site. This raises further concern that I have regarding how the site is being monitored, because in addition to that one condition of the 24/7 monitoring, there's 25 other conditions, some of which I believe aren't being adhered to. And this is part of a bigger concern, that if Range is not going to adhere to the conditions that they've set forth in something that's small, this could be happening across the board. So we have to hold them to the letter of what they agreed to as part of the conditions of use. So I had a few questions, starting with, and I'm just referring, just so you know, to the meeting minutes and the additional conditions that were approved as part of the conditional use from the Monday, July 3rd, 2017 meeting minutes. One item here is that their dates for site preparation, construction, drilling, and completion of wells are to be communicated. Just a point to that, the last schedule update that I believe we're supposed to receive, in addition, being that we're close to proximity, the township should receive. My first question is, have you received any additional schedule updates from Range Resources?
Hold on.
Besides what was communicated on June 4th? Okay. So that said that the construction was going to start at the end of June and continue for 4 to 6 weeks of construction. We're now 9 weeks in, and they're not even any portion through what would be considered construction. There's no well pad, there's no road, and no one's telling us what's happening. So I would hope at a minimum they're telling you. Apparently they're not telling you, they're not telling us. So I'd like to know what's going on. If this construction, they should be giving us a construction schedule and keeping it up to date. That's my first request, if we could ask them to do that. The other part to me is...
Quickly, Karen.
Go ahead, yep.
Is the board okay with Dawn reaching out to Range to find out an updated construction schedule?
Absolutely.
Okay. Dawn, will you?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. The second part, and honestly, I would please encourage you to drive on North DePauli Road and look at this sad excuse for this protective gate that they put in place. It's literally a completely open field with a gate that is just freestanding in the middle of nowhere. What is this gate going to prevent anybody from doing? I mean, a gate is a gate if it's protecting something that's enclosed. This is like something out of a comedy routine, this random gate in the middle of nowhere. You just drive a truck around this gate and there's no gate anymore. So I plead and I hope that that's not what was intended when we said in there that during any other time, a locked gate designed to prevent vehicular and pedestrian traffic shall be acceptable. That gate isn't protecting anything from anybody. So if they're gonna use that as an excuse to say that that is a security measure, honestly, please drive up there. It's a total joke. Okay, be worried about that. I did have questions. There is something else here in the conditional use about a driveway permit. Do we know if they filed for a driveway permit?
I'm sorry, you can speak into the microphone.
I believe they did, yes.
Okay, but if we can get any of that in right to know, right, if they applied for that?
Yes.
Okay. Another condition on here is an approved off-street parking area for vehicles to stand or be positioned while gaining entrance to the access road and shall be adequate so that it does not disrupt the normal flow of traffic. Pulling over on the side of the road with only half your vehicle on the side of the road, I don't consider that to be approved off-street parking, and there's vehicles up there from time to time, all the time. I don't know if that's what the plan is. Which leads me to another question that has popped up on social media and a lot of folks have concern about. I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know what's going on with the lot down at the corner of Millers Run Road and North DePauli. Was that leased to Range Resources, and will there be truck traffic parked and running through?
Range and the owner.
Does anybody know anything about that?
So unfortunately, because it's not our lot that's leased, that that agreement or what they intend to do with it is between Range and the owner of that lot. We don't have currently access to that information.
Okay. But they do have to tell you what their plans for moving of trucks from point A to point B are, right? Like, if they plan to use that as a staging area, I mean,
I don't think
isn't that something they have to tell you?
From what we understand, traffic is controlled real-time between Range and the police department. So those logistics are worked out in real time as far as traffic to and from the well site.
Okay, so we don't know how they intend, it's a mystery how they intend to use that lot, right? We don't know what that's gonna be for.
We have not been made aware, no.
I do know that on other well pads up in Hickory and that, they don't allow no truck traffic at all between ours if school buses are out.
Okay. I know a lot of people are upset about that, just like we're probably gonna drive. I know it's not our concern, I guess, because there's nothing we can do about it because it's leased, but I don't know how we approved for a business to be there, if that Thai place is there, if there's no parking for it. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. The next item on here was the condition 22, which was range shall provide contact information which will allow representatives of range to be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we can't get in touch with anybody. You get voicemail, and they call you back when they feel like calling you back. So I don't think that giving the 1-800 number to Range Resources for us to file our complaints is an okay answer.
So I'm sorry, who gave you the 1-800 number?
Yeah, that's been provided us by Jack King on numerous occasions, that we're supposed to voice our complaints about the Range site with Range, and it is a voicemail. So if we want to talk to somebody, we have to call the township, and sometimes we're just redirected to call the 1-800 number, which no one answers.
Does anybody call you back from Range?
Depends when they feel like it.
Yeah,
And it's just it's a dance, right? It's just a lip service. There's no answers that come out of anybody that we've contacted there up to this point.
I mean, we can reach out to Range and let them know from the township that that is a complaint, that they promised that they would have someone and that a 1-800 number with a voicemail attached is not.
Yeah, my only point of bringing up all this is that somebody should be looking at these conditions, and if they're not doing what they're saying that they're going to do, which in several cases we can already prove that they're not because they're not giving us updated construction schedules, they're not telling us what's going on, it's intrusive, and I'd like to know what's happening. So if somebody's keeping an eye on it, I mean, we're going to keep keeping an eye on it. And we'll continue to follow up on these things, but it wouldn't be nice to know that the township has our back and is asking them to be held to the letter of what they've agreed to do in the agreement. That's all.
Thank you.
Marilyn Hicks, Sir James Drive. To answer some of her questions and let you know, we went on a tour of well sites with Range today. And Range said they have contacted you as a board and said that they requested that they put the construction schedule, when the trucks are going to run, things like that, on your website or your Facebook. And they said you weren't going to do it. So that's what I heard from Range Resource today.
So that is not true. That's incorrect. We were never, I'll let you two speak for yourselves, but we were never asked by a Range Resources representative to put construction schedules.
Okay, well, then you need to talk to them because
We will.
As I said, we were on the tour today and we asked, how do we get the schedule of when the trucks are going to run, when the construction's going to start? And they said they approached the board about putting it on, I think she said the Facebook page, but I guess I don't know anything about that. But she did say she talked to the board about putting this out. So all the public, just not that one area, knows when the trucks and stuff are running.
That will be addressed tomorrow, but we were never asked of that.
Okay. The other thing she stated was about that lot was, yes, they have the lease to the lot, but there is going to be a policeman there for the traffic. My question is, who pays for that policeman?
Range will.
They'll reimburse us for the 24-hour thing.
Well, it won't be 24 hours a day, and Sean, jump in if I'm wrong, but it won't be 24 hours a day. It will be while they will coordinate with our police while they are running trucks to the site, and they will pay for an official Cecil Township police officer to be at that location directing traffic.
Well, then I would ask the board, I don't know who on the board, I think you should talk to Range Resource because they're giving us as people visiting that you're not cooperating for us to know.
I mean,
you referenced the she. Who did you speak with at Range? Who was?
She's I don't know her name. I forget her name.
Is her name Jocelyn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was the other girl. There's a girl there that runs the DEP. She has long, dark hair. She works with the DEP to make sure all Department of Environmental Protection things are taken care of. She also stated that.
Okay, so just as a bit of clarification from the township's perspective, almost all communication between Range and the township has been running through Mr. King. So I won't speak for you, but based on your shaking of your head, no, that was not something that was ever said to you either.
It was never brought before the board. It was mentioned that they put information on other websites. We have not been asked directly to put anything out to, reflecting anything going on the Augustine well pad. There was that delay. Nothing more has been said about it. So
Okay.
I don't know why they would say.
Yeah, that we said no. Okay. Okay, so we will clarify that with Range tomorrow. Any other questions or comments?
Is it okay if I just sit?
Mhm.
Sorry, but...
Could you state your name and address for the
Yeah,
record?
sure. I have a sciatica problem, so I can't stand. My name is Anna Cohen, and I am from Cecil. Unfortunately, tonight, last meeting, I had requested from the board a copy of the letter that Chairman Fisher read from supposedly from the school district. The troubling part to me was there were a lot of issues in the letter. The troubling part to me was the last statement that Supervisor Fisher made. And it read, and she made it. If anyone is in doubt, you can go on the videos, and this is how I pulled it up, because last meeting, I was not able to get a copy. When I asked for it, I was told that I'd do information. So I went on the video myself and it played it over and over so that I knew I had the right information. The last statement that Supervisor Fisher made, the Cannon-McMillan School District is opposed to the purchase of the ABB property. She stated before that this was a letter by Darla Bowman Monaco. So today I called the superintendent's office. I was told that the Cannon-McMillan School District did not discuss this, did not vote on it, had nothing to do with this. I'm waiting for a call from Darla Bowman. I had talked to the superintendent's office. She's to call me back. I haven't yet received a call. I don't know what the board wants to do this, but I would request that Cindy Fisher be removed from her office as chairman and that she should resign as supervisor. This is a blatant, this is a lie. This is lying. This is lying to your constituents. It is.
Ms. Cohen, Ms. Cohen.
Let me finish, please.
The letter never said that the school board was against it.
Pardon me?
What the message said was that she couldn't come to the meeting because she's on the school board, and it was a voting night.
Right.
And all she said was, we have no interest in putting a road through there. We will not take our children through that dump.
Who are you talking about? She. Wait a minute. I'm talking about Cindy. So who is your she?
Ron, let me address because.
Wait a minute.
No,
Excuse
no,
me.
no, hold on.
This is ridiculous.
No,
No,
Anna,
it
no,
isn't.
It
no.
absolutely is.
Wait, excuse me. I have the floor.
No, Anna, I have the floor, and I'm going to speak up because I've
No,
sat.
you don't have the floor.
Absolutely, I do.
You
Anna,
can do
listen.
this to that. Cindy, this is ridiculous.
Anna,
I have
I've
the
listened to
floor.
you bring this up meeting after meeting. I've sat
Wait,
quietly. Tonight, you've called me a liar, and I need to say something.
I didn't call you a liar. I said
Yes, you
this
did.
was a lie.
You just said it.
Anna,
All right,
listen to
well,
me.
look, it's a lie because Carla Bowman is going to come to the.
So speak up after me. So I'm going to say this. I'm done having this discussion. It will not come up again. I read a
Well,
letter.
excuse me?
I read a letter that came from Darla Bowman Monaco. I made that clear. It wasn't a letter. It was a message to Supervisor Fleer from Darla Bowman Monaco. I would first like to publicly apologize to Darla because she is being drugged through something simply because I am up for office. And for that, I publicly apologize to her. Listen to me for a second.
About, Cindy.
Mrs.
I
Cohen,
apologize.
Mrs. Cohen, I listened to you and now I'm asking you to
Yeah, but
listen
you
to
didn't
me.
let me finish. You interrupted
I'm
me
not
like
resigning.
You always do to take over.
Mrs. Cohen, I'm not resigning. I read word for word from a message that was sent from Mrs. Monaco to this board. I did not intentionally, I couldn't have thought that quick on my feet anyways, but I did not intentionally lie, mislead, or anything
Listen,
other. And any
you're
other
responsible for all
accusation
this, Eric.
is going to be stopped right now. If you have another issue you'd like to address before this board, we will hear you out, but this is, we're done.
Excuse
Go ahead,
me,
Frank, you may speak.
Ron,
Anna,
do you,
can I speak?
yes, can I ask one question, please? I would like to ask Ron, do you have a copy of the message you're referring to? That
I'm
I
sure
have
we
a
can
copy
find
of
it,
that?
Ron.
I told you last month, Anna, I deleted it. If anybody would have it, Jack King might have it. Because
Jack
Eric
King-
told him to
Jack,
spend
do
like
you
a
have
half a day
copy of it?
deciphering
If
it.
you do, I would like, I think
He
that would
ordered
have.
him to do that.
Because I've been told by the school board that this statement that Cindy made is not true. And she specifically said that the Cannon McMillan School District
read
is on the
from the
tape
statement.
opposed to the purchase of the ABB property. I didn't say she was a liar. I said that is a blatant lie, because if you read, if you go on the video,
Anna, I'm
that's
going to
what
let
she
Mr.
said.
Aguizio speak. Go ahead, Frank.
Anna, prior to the dates of this letter, a week and a half, I think I'm pretty accurate on that, I was approached over in a restaurant while eating breakfast with my family by Darla Bowman Monaco,
Okay.
who I was getting ready to leave and pay my bill. She got up in the middle of the restaurant and told me, if you've ever put a road through ABB property, we will never run our school buses through that property, Frank, and if you touch that arsenic pile over there in Muse, and that arsenic ducts get sucked in the ventilation system in that school over there in Muse, yins are in some trouble. This surfaced, I was told this first initially a week and a half before all these letters and conversations went through.
And
And-
that was in this letter, that
Yeah.
statement.
She
you
may have
said
been
was there.
speaking as, the board herself saying that.
And I made it
Well,
clear.
there was supposed to be something sent to the township. I was told today by the superintendent's office that they had sent something to the township, a letter, and it was supposed to have been sent, I believe, by Darla. I wasn't sure on that, and they're checking on it. And Darla is supposed to get back to me because I voted for Darla. I know Darla, and I know she's an outstanding person. And what happened, the way I read what she said is exactly, it was what Darla said. If you read Darla's statement, she didn't say anything contrary. Cindy.
She had health and safety concerns for the children attending that school, which she should have.
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm telling you in person, I was there with my family, that's what she told me a week and a half prior to.
Which was the lie, the one she posted on Facebook or the one she?
I
We're
don't know,
not
I'm-
going to get into attacking a resident. We're not going to get into attack. You are. You're now questioning whether or not what Miss Monaco, we're done. If you have another thing you'd like to address, well, nope, we're done with that line of questioning.
Called out on bullshit, that's why.
No, because we're not going to attack a resident who's not here.
Supervisor, I'm addressing Supervisor Gizio.
Anna, we are done with this line of questioning. If you have another question, we will
Why-
accept
why
that
are
question.
you didn't
Because
want
we
to-
are
you didn't-
attacking a resident,
No,
and I
I'm
will not.
I am presenting the truth.
Anna,
I
we
am
are
presenting
done with
the
this
truth.
line of questioning. Do you have another
I
question?
submit that you guys go on on the video and pull it up for yourself. Cindy, I don't dislike, this is not personal. I don't have any personal agenda
Anna,
with
do
anybody.
you have
Let
another-
me finish. Let me finish. Does any of the board object to what I'm saying? I have a right, I've been in this township 50 years, and I've come to meetings year in and year out, and I've supported all of you. I've supported Frankie, Cindy, it's not personal, but when a supervisor makes a statement and puts a person like Darla Bowman in jeopardy and make her look bad, I know Darla. I supported her. Like I said, she's an upstanding person, and she has had to climb out of this also, because I was told today by the supervisor's office that she had sent some kind of letter back to the board. I don't know, I haven't heard or seen anything. So I'm waiting to talk with Darla. I respect her. She's a good board member, and she represents our children, our township. And I do not appreciate a sitting supervisor, and it's in black and white here. The statement you made, Cindy, I'm not making false accusations. I don't dislike you as a person, but I was raised to not lie, to tell the truth. And when you get up in front of all your citizens and you make a statement that is untrue, and you put people like Darla Bowman, that's been in this township for years, and I've known her, and you put her personality,
Anna,
her in
I
jeopardy.
read.
That's not fair to
I
Darla.
read a statement, and that's, we're done. I
Yeah.
read a statement and that is
But
it.
the
I did not.
statement was
Stop.
false. That's my.
No,
that-
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Cindy.
Anna, we're done with
It
this. Do you
was.
have anything else?
You
Anna,
said-
do you have anything else?
Carla,
Anna, do
Carla
you have?
Bowman said, Carla
Anna, do
Bowman
you have
said it was
anything else?
false. She's going to send a letter. I will get
Okay.
to the bottom of this.
Okay.
She will send a letter, and listen,
Anna, do you have anything else?
I'm not finished. You haven't really let me, because you,
Can you step in, please?
Cindy, you made a mistake. You screwed up. You told an untruth in this. Darla Bowman, she was put out, and it makes her look in the bed. What's that?
Okay, at this point,
And
that point has
listen,
been taken.
I have talked to Darla. I mean, and she's
Okay,
going
okay,
to come.
please,
Michelle,
please.
enough. Okay, Anna,
The
do you have
chairman is
something
running
else?
the meeting. That point has been well taken and heard. We need to move the meeting on. If there's another topic you'd like to speak about in public comment, please
I do have a
do.
question. As an attorney, what the board member, all of you supervisors, what do you plan to do? You just sweep it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen?
Okay.
You're unconscious.
I'm not unconscious. I
Ron,
know what the
Ron,
message said.
let it go.
And I'm sick of this, and I'm tired of this.
Well, hey, you're the one that brought it up. I didn't.
I didn't bring it up.
But you're making
Ron,
your-
let it go. Let it go.
You're
Let it go.
making your friend Darla look bad, and she doesn't deserve to be put into this line.
I never made her look bad.
I didn't say you did.
There's
You just
one
did.
person making
This
it look
made
bad.
her look.
Okay, Anna, do you have anything else that you would like to address the board?
I know, I keep dropping everything. Sorry about that. But, no, I don't have anything else, except I would like to.
Okay, then we're going to move on. Does anybody have any other questions or concerns you'd like to bring before this board?
My name is Carrie Van Wee. I live at 238 Coomer Road. I'm here to express my significant concern for a serious, dangerous problem, which is speeding on Coomer Road. From the hours of 6 a.m. to about 8:30 a.m., Monday through Friday, commuters are speeding down Coomer Road from approximately Glass Hill Road to the Y going to Muse Bishop. Our children are getting on the school bus during this time frame. Our children need to cross the road to get to the door of the buses. This is a huge concern for me because if a car is speeding around the bend by my neighbor's home, 216, they may not have enough time to stop if the bus is there picking up our children, especially if they are distracted, which is highly probable. People are speeding, and it is not safe for us. Since 2016, we have expressed concern regarding this issue multiple times, with visits to the police department, phone calls, letters, and emails. I have had a Your Speed machine in my yard twice. This is a major problem that we would like to have addressed. We are tired of the speeding and nothing being done about it. I'd like to know what you might be able to do about this to keep us and our children safe. I thought maybe speed bumps might be an added feature on the road in several spots to reduce the speeding. Please act on this issue before someone is seriously hurt or even worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, do you want to address it or?
We are very familiar with it. We've had speed traps, and unfortunately, the sight distance, it's very difficult actually at our house. So we do have speed traps up further the road, and we have put up speed radar signs, and unfortunately, it continues to happen. I think it's been a cut through, and it's getting worse with traffic.
Is there anything else we can do?
Unfortunately, we can't use radar, and we need sight distance, to be able to time the vehicles. So we really can't sit on top of their house. We sit there as much as we can, and really, it's going to continue to happen. It's happening throughout the rest of the township as well. We're doing our best. We're getting more speed signs too, radar signs, so hopefully we can keep posting them out there.
My name's Chris Casella. I live at 237 Coomer Road. Miss Van Wee is my neighbor. Chief, I've talked to you in the past about this issue, and with the speed survey radar unit that you put there, it's almost like a game. 57 miles an hour in a 35 mile or 25 mile per hour zone, excuse me. And that's before you go up to make the right onto Muse Bishop. You say you need places to sit. I know my father-in-law, Mr. Osella, has offered his driveway numerous times. As far as, I know it is a hard area to enforce with the site.
Very difficult, yes.
The VASCAR lines that were painted, I mean, I've seen your officers there twice. Is it a staffing issue that maybe there's just not enough officers on the department?
That is one of them. I mean, to be honest with you, we've had some injuries in the department. We're getting back to staff. But on sincerity, when we sit there with those VASCAR lines, you could see the police car, and I know you know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So unfortunately, they're not going to speed by a marked police car.
Right.
We try hiding. Again, further up the road, we do traffic enforcement. I can never promise you we're going to be there all the time. I rotate throughout this township, and everyone's going to know that, whether we get complaints and, we come up there. I've dealt with the situation several times. My lieutenants, we provide the officers there. It slows them down for a short period of time. And then, unfortunately, when we're not there, it does pick up again. So
It does. And one thing I will iterate on is, probably about 70% are out of state, and they're cutting through going to South Point.
I have the same problem.
I noticed on Anger Road, you
Yes.
guys have the mobile sign.
Yeah, we
tells
just
the
got
speed.
that, and we're moving it around as much as we can. It's the same thing as the trailer. It's been sitting in an actual yard. I'm actually trying to get that fixed because the LED's gone. And again, we cannot enforce that sign. So even if I'm sitting there as a law enforcement, local police officer, it has radar on it. We are not permitted to even pull you over.
Right.
We have to
The
use
sign's
stop-
not
we
calibrated.
use
I understand
stopwatches,
all that.
Yes.
And my question to the board would be, are there other alternatives, such as speed humps down where our homes are?
We can ask our township engineer if the traffic engineer can look into anything and see if there's anything at all that we can do, but.
That is a good idea. That'll help us get the information on the type of speeds, the time of day, so that I know Mr. Januso can probably assist us. Hopefully, you have the same equipment. We've done studies there before. Unfortunately, the numbers weren't there. We do have to give 10 over the speed limit.
Understandable.
So it is
but
35 miles an hour. Again, I encourage anybody to call us. We'll get the officers over there. We have 27 square miles, and I try to do a nice rotation. I have a sergeant involved, painting lines, getting that stuff out there. It's a refresher for us. I don't have a problem, going back as much as we can, doing paperwork like I said we do. During rush hours, we addressed other issues there as well. We have cited many people there.
Oh, I believe
But
you. And
unfortunately, when you
with
cite 'em,
14 officers, 24 or
Yeah.
27 square miles is
Yeah,
a heck of a lot of territory.
We definitely cite, Anger Road's another one, Burnside Road. It is all over this township, so we'll do our best. We'll go up there again. We'll
I
see what we
appreciate
can
it.
do.
So what, we will do that, if the board's okay with it, we'll have, or the traffic engineer from Gateway Engineers look into it and just see if there's anything that they can recommend that may help our police officers kind of enforce that speeding there.
Yeah, and I get Chief's point. I mean, it's hard to be everywhere at one time, but, I mean, I can't tell you how many numerous times my wife's almost been hit walking the dog. We did have one neighbor get hit walking on the side of the road, and a lot of it is distracted driving. There's one vehicle in particular that, I could fill you in after the meeting.
Yeah, we will get back to you. We will work on it and get back to you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Osell. I am 216 Coomer Road. And what happened was when they closed the bridge down there in Cecil on Route 50, everybody found a shortcut, and that's why they use Coomer Road so much, and everybody keeps using it. I do have one solution, and I don't know if the officer can do this, but in my driveway, you can't see a police car sitting in my driveway, but the police car can see everybody coming up and everybody going past. They're welcome to sit in there in the morning, afternoon, evening, anytime you want, because you'll catch a million people going past.
Can
there.
you give us your Or Chief, your specific address before you leave.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
he said 216.
216, okay.
216, yeah, and it's just a farm road there. And, you know, all the neighbors, I mean, they walk through my property because around that bend, my barn sits right around that bend where you can't see around that bend, but if you're sitting in my driveway, you can catch everybody. But on a, on a lighter note, the tennis courts, they're beautiful tennis courts down there, and they cost a lot of money to do, I'm sure. And I play tennis a lot, and unfortunately, there's people coming in there with skateboards, and I happen to throw a couple kids off with skateboards because they're going to ruin the courts. And also, people are playing soccer in there now, and they're bunching, jumping into the fence and kicking balls into the net. And all you need is just a sign that would say on both doors, you know, tennis only, tennis shoes only, and that'll stop it because they're really scuffing up the courts bad.
That's easy to fix. We can ask Bill, too. Yeah, we will definitely. That's a great point. Thank you.
Okay. And the third thing is, I wasn't going to bring this up, but somebody says I own the tea room also. And I do have it rented out. There are 6 parking spaces beside the tea room. Plus, I own a place across the street that has about 10 extra parking spaces. So there's plenty of parking spaces at the tea room if they want it. But it's a takeout, so everybody parks in the empty lot and runs in, gets it, and leaves. Makes it simple that way.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ken Tilger, 111 Coomer Road. I'm here to support my neighbors on Coomer Road. The speeding is really getting out of hand. I'm not sure exactly what you can do about it, but the people have to be aware of the kids in that area. It's an accident waiting to happen. If you think about just going up, down Coomer Road, there's wildlife to cross there. Sometime, somebody's going to come speeding, swerve to miss a deer or something else, and they're going to really put a hurting on somebody's property. So I'm not sure exactly what needs to be done, what can be done. But I know myself, it's a hassle just cutting my grass sometimes if I get on the road with a tractor. So appreciate anything you guys can do, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Diane Ritz-Nicolella from Windsor Woods, off North Deep Paoli. Again, I'm bringing up the issue of North Deep Paoli, and I'm asking each one of you, from Madam President to the rest of the solicitors or the councilmen, to drive North Deep Paoli, if you would please. When is the last time any of you have driven on it?
I drive it every day.
I was on it on Saturday.
Okay. And the rest?
9 months.
Eric, Tom, Frank?
9 months.
Okay. Please do. Again, I have pictures of down at the corner on a state road, Route 50.
We explained last month, that we were moving that road.
Moving the whole road?
Yes.
It's going to be realigned at the intersection to improve the sight distance.
Okay.
And then we're also looking at widening the road back through the trestle that 2 cars can comfortably pass through there.
2 cars or 2 trucks?
Whatever the normal lane width that we can get onto the road will maximize the width of township. A township road is approximately 10-foot lanes plus curbs. So that's enough room for 2 vehicles to pass, and that be trucks.
How wide are your standards?
Standard lanes in the township are 10-foot lanes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they want to be 20 and then your curb.
And curbs, yes.
And you're
That will be
saying
a
2
minimum.
trucks could pass that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Trucks this big, which are going to be the range resource trucks?
yeah, they'll be standard, they're standard road vehicles that have to
All
make.
trucks are the same width.
Yeah.
All trucks, 8 foot.
Okay, well, that's our only way in and out.
Well,
Our only way.
We
We have no other egress to get out of Windsor Woods.
We understand that. We've met with the developer. We were furnished with a survey this week, and we're putting together a little plan, working with the Public Works Director to come up with that plan and bring it back into the board. The developer's responsible for part of that, and the Public Works Director wants to extend that work a little bit further back than the developer planned. So we should have something together, Joe, next meeting for the board to look at.
Do you have any idea when construction can start?
We first have to put it in front of the board, have to understand the costs, and then they can make a decision what they want to do.
Okay. Do you have any regulations about people that have gravel driveways, if the gravel runs onto your road and pits the road? I've had to go down there at Route 50 and with a coal shovel and try to get some of the gravel off of the road, because if you go at the bottom of North Deep Paoli and Route 50, of course, looking around the Thai restaurant's porch, sometimes you have to go out quickly, and you end up spinning out because there's so much gravel on the road from the parking lot.
You've gone there and shoveled it yourself?
Yes, I have.
Please don't do that, because I don't want you to get hurt. Please call the township building and let us address that. I would feel sick if something happened to you while you were out doing that.
If it's in Route 50.
Yeah, if it's on Route 50, it's going to be the state.
Yeah, but let us reach out to our state representatives.
It's right
or to
beside where
PennDOT.
the telephone pole is tethered onto the road, which
Right.
is kind of weird, too. I've never seen a telephone pole tethered onto a road.
Right. But please just reach out to us, reach out to me, reach out to Dawn or Mr. King, and let us get somebody to do that. Thank
Okay.
you, though.
Okay, very good. With the issues of Coomer Road, I just want to say there's a sign down the street that says, "Life is short, have ice cream." Life is short. We want to elongate our lives, and we're looking to you to help us do that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Sorry.
Mike Schiavone. Hi, Cecil. Hi, Council. I'm just curious. I see it's fast-paced and heightened emotions here and all that. Just curious about the park. I came in with my family. They're a lot bigger than I am. They left a little rent here. Excuse me if I miss any formalities. I'm a bit shaky. The $550,000 with 50% township match, is that including or is that with including?
The total project cost is $550.
Okay, I'm a Schiavone, and that's one little word, man. Change the whole thing. Change the whole thing. Are these bridges prefabricated? Do we know?
Yeah.
They are. Where did we get
The
them
ones
from?
that we're applying from. I forget the name of the company. Do you?
Well, they would have to be, so if the township is successful in getting a grant, the project would have to be publicly bid. And within the specifications, we would specify the type of bridge that we're looking for dimensionally, what they are, what the loading requirements are, and so forth. And then the person who bids on the project could specify a type of bridge. There's not a number of suppliers that can supply them.
Okay.
So it would be part of a bidding process, and we would have that set up for a specification.
Am I the only one in the room that thinks $550,000 is nuts for 4 bridges? All right, I feel like we could put up a few Ryan homes in Cecil Park for that. That's just, but I don't know. I'm not here to stir up anything. I'm here to learn I'm here to learn
Part
and
of
help
the
if I
cost
can.
associated and part of the reason we've held off so long on this is the location of them, because they go over a stocked trout stream. So there's rules and requirements on how we place them. And so that $550,000 isn't the cost of the bridges. The bridges are like $40,000 or $45,000 a piece.
Or it's not labor.
Correct. The
Okay.
cost of it comes in that we have to put the abutments up, and we have to do the building of them, and we have to do all that. We have to get permitting to be able to work over the stream. So the total cost is $550,000.
How long?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Which is why we haven't done it ourselves at this point, and why we're looking for the grants to help pay for it.
How long have those bridges been up, do we know?
Oh, 30,
Danny, how long?
a long time.
How long have they been up
I
there?
don't remember.
You donated.
If I asked my uncle what a long time was, he'd say 50 years. I'd say 5. Just saying.
I would say like maybe 30 years.
Over 30 years.
Yeah, in excess of 25 years.
Okay, I was just wondering if maybe wooden bridges or something else would be an option, just from some guy from Cecil, just curious.
See, that floods a lot over there.
Well, okay, good point. Ron, I saw you ask some questions. You got some good questions there. I appreciate everything you council are doing. I'm one guy looking at one little piece of this that you flew through, and you guys are taking all this on. That's, whew. Okay, I'm done. I was just curious.
But the thing is, you got to keep in mind, these bridges, you will be able to drive across into the park, rest of the park. They hold 50 ton.
A vehicle?
Yes.
Is that legal for us to drive vehicles into the park?
We have been asked that because there's a miners
you can
pavilion
label it.
across the creek that a lot of the people who want to go to that pavilion and see it are elderly or handicapped or disabled. So while they want to go over there and see it, they can't because they can't physically walk. So while we won't, when he says drive across, it's not going to turn into a racetrack where anybody who wants to drive across can. But if you rent that pavilion and need to get over there, or if there's an emergency and we need to get emergency vehicles over there, those kinds of things are considerations that are going
Plus,
into it.
it's going to give our road department access to get over there a lot easier, rather than going all the way down the road and coming up the trail.
Are we looking at 4 of the same bridge?
Yes.
All right, do we need 4 driving bridges?
I
Could we do
don't think-
3
I think-
walking bridges and one,
I
or
think
maybe
one
2?
on each end would be enough, be plenty.
So I'm getting somewhere? Am I getting somewhere then? I'll take as a yes, sir. All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing, sorry I get a little antsy. Is this, like the cost and all that, is that public? Is there access to that? Is this all gonna be broken down? How would I go about finding all
If you
this?
submit, go ahead. If you submit a right to know request, it's easy to,
But I just want to caution, we're putting the grant together over the next month, and the intent tonight, I put a high number in. We hope to bring that number down as low as we can.
Okay.
The Public Works Director's off this week. We're going to meet with him next week. We're going to all try to get our heads together, minimize the amount of the cost, and then we have to put a budget in with a grant application, and once that's in and finalized, we'll have a final number. So all that was done here tonight was just the board authorized up to 50% of a match, and we will try to reduce the cost and do this in the most cost-effective way we can.
right.
All right.
Thank you.
That works. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please keep in mind, like, we're submitting a grant application. There's nothing written in stone that we move forward with it this way or this plan. It's just we need to submit something. Any other questions or comments? This meeting's adjourned at 9:07.